Well, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Take Five. And we are in one of the most important passages in the entire Bible today, one of the most famous passages. We're going to be here for the next 10 days because we're looking at God's top 10, the 10 commandments. Now, a lot of times when you hear top 10, you watch top 10 programs on TV or listen to top 10 songs on the radio. Usually whoever's doing the countdown counts it down backwards because they want to build the excitement from 10, 9, 8 down to 1. Um, with God, it goes the other way. Number 1, he's going to give you right off the bat. This is going to be the most important commandment of the 10. All right. And so let's go ahead and just get right to it and read it. And we're just going to do one a day. We're in Exodus 20, verse 2. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Okay, he's just reminding them who he is and what he's done for them. Verse 3, this is the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. Now you might think, okay, that's pretty easy. We don't really have other gods here in the United States. Well, we do, and I'll get to that in a minute, but realize that they came from Egypt who had all kinds of gods. They worshipped lots of different gods, the god of the land and they'd worship him hoping the land would produce good fruit and would produce vegetables and things like that. They had the god of the sky, and so he'd give them good weather, and the god of the sea for the sailors. They had all kinds of gods, and all the nations around them had multiple gods, and some of them were really cruel. Some of these gods would require human sacrifice and things like that. Even some of the leaders around there, Pharaoh was looked at as a god, and the nations they would come in contact with later as they're on their way to the promised land would also have many different kinds of gods. Baal was the most common one that they dealt with. The Philistines worshiped Baal, and Baal worship actually crept into the Israelite community. So God's saying, look, I'm it. You can't have any other God than me. Now, here in the United States, we don't really see people worshiping other things like that. There's no God of the earth. Although every morning, a lot of people check their horoscope, and they're basically looking to the stars for advice, okay? Looking at the astrological, depending on their astrological sign. I'm a Libra, or are you a Gemini or a Taurus or something? Okay, well, that's having another God. But I would tell you that the most common gods that people worship here in the United States, all right? And the most common God you're going to be tempted to worship, and God says you can't do this, okay? One of them is going to be money. And boy, do you see people worship money. All they think about is money, how to accumulate more money. They spend all their time and energy going after money. Well, that's having a God ahead of God. He won't put up with that. Another one is just themselves. Some people are just really selfish, and they don't even think about God. They don't take time to worship God. They don't pray. They don't give anything to God. They don't give him credit for anything. They don't glorify him. All right. So self is another really popular God. And sometimes we make even religion, preachers, and churches gods, where they actually take the place of worshiping God. Because people believe because they're part of a church, or they go to a particular kind of church, or a different or particular denomination, or they believe certain things, that they're good, and they don't actually have a personal relationship with God. See, the cool thing is these commandments aren't meant to hurt us or restrict us. They're for our joy. And I will tell you, my personal relationship with God, the fact that God is my God, gives me more joy than anything else in this entire world. So that's the most important commandment. And I'm encouraging you, please don't ever let anybody or anything else come before your personal relationship with him. That's the first commandment. Come back tomorrow for the second commandment on this next edition of Take 5.